can be or should be described using a XY scatter plot. Sometimes, if you are measuring, for example, continuous data, like absorbance measurements, which we have over here, that data is continuous, and so the graph should also be continuous. So we can highlight the data. Insert, charts, and in this case, we want smooth lines. And you can see here straight away, I have 3 different series, so buffer, series 1, PF, so fluorescent protein, and fluorophore on its own as series 3. So at this stage, all I need to do is think about making the graph look as good as it can. First thing I'm going to do is say, well, I don't have data from 0 to 250 nanometers. So there's no point in showing that part of the graph. I've clicked on my axes. And if you remember, this is to make changes to the appearance. This changes the shape. This changes size. And this option is for changing how the data is expressed. So we can go to Axis Options and select a minima of 250, and that should automatically update. And then you can see on the x-axis I have not got any data after 600 nanometers. So again, it makes sense to zoom the data in as much as possible. Obviously, you would spend the time to, for example, change our figure legend. So if you want to change what this says, you select your figure legend, click Select Data, and then we're back in this familiar window, but in this case, what we want to edit is actually the series name. The X data and the Y data is correct, but I want to change the label. And you can see that that's updated. On the right-hand side, we have options of where we're going to move the data to. So that's continuous data. Over here, we have the option of discrete data. This shouldn't be joined up because each measurement is an individual. In this case, you would be best served by something like a bar chart. So notice I'm not going to complete this calculation, but I will show you how to make a graph. So we're going to select our data. So we've got our names, and in this example that I'm giving you, the number of fossils found in a 1 kilometer square area. Not a great day if you're a fossil hunter. And I'm going to come over here and select a 2D column and a graph. It's already included my data labels. That's great. Just as before, we can use the add chart element to include such things as labels, If you notice over here, we also have another way of accessing things like error bars. So error bars can be included on our graph. The percentage uncertainty means that we can add error bars on here in exactly the same way as we have done previously. So you click on your chart elements button, error bars, and if you have calculated errors and you have a column for those, you can use more options. Or you could say, for example, I'm going to specify a certain percentage. So in this case, everything has been given a 5% uncertainty. One thing it's worth mentioning is that seeing these error bars, which are currently a sort of grey colour on a blue background, is difficult. So we can go here and make changes to colours. It's now much easier to see our errors, and it also shows that we're putting a little bit more effort in. Finally, over here we have our last type of graph. This is a combined graph. What if you have two data sets that you want to show on the same graph? They aren't measuring the same thing. So in this case, we have the rate of flu-like illness. So this is people who have reported themselves as having some sort of flu symptoms versus the number of people who have been tested and proved positive for flu. The numbers are wildly different. This is 1,000, this is 30. Trying to put those onto the same graph, let's just show what that looks like. Put that as a bar chart. Keeping in mind that these are already this data here in the per 1,000. This were just sitting as normal data, it would completely swamp the information we're looking at. So instead, what we can do is generate an overlapped graph like this. The way we complete this is by selecting our XY data. So in this case, I have my week number in the year and my rate of flu. I want that as a bar chart. It's seeing my weeks as one data set and my rate of flu as a second data set. So that's not right. Right click, select data, and chuck the first one because that's going to be our week data and it's completely wrong. Select our series 2 and make an edit. Series name, rate of flu. series values, what we're going to plot, this guy over here. And then the last one on our list is the horizontal category, so the x-axis labels. Edit that. Got ourselves a bar chart. But I want to add a different axis on the right-hand side. And the way I can do this is by clicking on Change Chart Type, because at the moment, and you'll see along here, you've got a bunch of different options. I've got column. What I want is down here, I want a combo. And I'm going to have to go back for a second. So cancel. I'm going to bring in some more data. Right click, select data. Oh, apologies, wrong thing. Change chart type, combo. And on my left-hand side, I want clustered column, which is fancy for bar chart. And then on the right-hand side, so a second axis, I want the number of confirmed cases. So now I can have totally different values and overlay them to their best extent. Of course, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do things like add axis labels using my add chart element. And I'm going to make sure that I have a figure legend. Remembering that figure legends describe the figure, they don't offer interpretation, nor do they offer method facts. One thing this one would suggest is that, where did I get this data? So this is from the Australian Health Ministry. So it's statistics from 2018. The source of the data, if it's from literature, should be included in your figure legend.